Like, what are the symptomatic things that they can look at and go, oh, is my partner an asset or a liability? Because I think that's really important for people who are sitting there going, well, the knee-jerk reaction is an asset because I've been with them for so long and, hey, I might have a business that's making money. But they might not have sort of the keys to going, no, I've never thought about it that way.
I would go as far to say is that you can start off in a relationship where you guys are assets to each other, and over time you can actually spread away from each other, or one partner grows and one doesn't. So people should be very much evaluating this and being aware to this. I'll also say I've seen many business owners where they start their business and they go all in business and just ignore their partner.
Yep.
They almost create the divide. So I would be very much concerned about that. When I really think about looking at this one here, the big thing I look about is like, if you're sitting here and you've got a goal to do something and you feel like you can't do it because of your partner, right? So it's like, oh, I want to start a business, but I can't because my partner wouldn't, approve of that right now. That would be the key sign I would be looking at. If I'm wanting to do something with my life and I go to Bianca and say, hey, I really want to do this, she's on board. So that's like asset behavior versus like liability behavior.
Yep.
So I think that's a really huge one in my books. Is there anything that stands out to you?
Yeah, it's something quite similar. So my top one was like goals. So, and I say this is like two parts, right? Like I need somebody, and I think most people should have somebody who is aspiring for something personally, like in an individual level, because there's two sets of goals. So if they're not aspiring to create something better than what they're at today and just every day chipping away, I think that's already a telltale sign of a liability, because to your point, it's going to create this chasm. It's just going to create this great divide that's only going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse as you are leaning towards more of your goals. But also on top of that, having joint goals, right? Because there's no use having two individuals living under a house trying to create two different outcomes. They have to come together. And so similar to your point, it's going, well, how do these two say, this is what I want to achieve personally, this is what I want to achieve personally? And we go, great, I will do everything I can to help you in that journey. And this as one single unit, this is where we're going to get to, whether it's like starting a family or having sort of family wealth or things like that, depending if you're married or not. I see that as having those conversations and having that understanding where it's not just one person and how do we make this one person's goal successful? It's great. We've got our individualistic and we've got our one together. How do we use that to sort of propel? And I just say, if you don't have them in place and it's not sort of ingrained in your partner's mind around consistent improvement, you're going to keep bringing them on your journey, keep bringing them on. You're going to grow and then look back and go, cool, how can I let you up? You're going to grow, you can look back, how can I let you up? And I just don't think that's how it needs to happen. It should both be just growing at the same time.
Yeah, and I really like your point there about it doesn't have to be the same goal. Like in your example, right, if your goal is wealth building and Hazel's is fitness, right, even though they're very different in the tools, tactics, strategies that would achieve success there, it's the type of person that does that kind of makes it.
I don't care if she loves art and she's just trying to be better at art and every day she's improving at art. Great. Tell me what you're learning. I'll absorb it all because I'm going to use that fire and that passion that you've got to continue me growing, and then I'm going to keep talking to you about what I'm doing, and you're going to use that passion and that fire to continue yourself growing. And then as one unit, we're going to have whether it's a family wealth goal, going, great, you do your art, I'll do this. We'll come together, we'll buy properties or whatever, and we'll continue sort of excelling together.
Yeah, ambition is attractive now that I think of it.
It's so attractive, dude.
I think that's both ways as well, though. It's like if you're so in our example, like when I see Bianca striving for things, I find that very attractive when she's trying to do it and trying to better herself. I think it's awesome. But I'm pretty certain that goes the other way as well. And I think if you are the business owner, right, and you're trying to like maybe don't be a sourpuss or a negative Nancy, like you achieving things and growing yourself and leading by example is one of the things that may actually help that go both ways if it's not already. Or if your partner's doing that and you're not, you might be the one actually repelling that. So that's a really interesting point. How do you feel about this next one, right? So I was thinking about this topic here. One of the things that I value a lot in my relationship is that I can go hard in business and that if it doesn't go well, and there's been times when I've taken massive hits, massive ones, is that I basically can go in and cry to Bianca and she'll lift me back up.
Dude, I love it. I think it's I think that is one of the core foundations that you have to have, is them as like a number one support network. They're a safety net. If everything collapsed and I just can't solve this problem, I know that I can go in, reset with them. They're not gonna pull me down or throw rocks at other people. I think they're just gonna be like, cool, like how do we get through this together so that I can continue pushing.
So does that make the opposite liability here? Is like if you've had a rough run in business or in life in general, and you go and spend time with your partner and they're not picking you back up, maybe that's another sign you haven't got an asset. You've got a bit of a liability.
Yeah. So I'll use it as I personally relate to this one. So an ex-partner of mine, every time that I was having sort of something negative, right, and I'll go complain about sort of, not so much complain, but sort of share that I was going through this sort of rough patch and how I was trying to approach it and things like that, they would turn around and actually try and make their situation worse so that they would get the sympathy. Dude, it was horrible.
One-upping on the negative. Wow.
Literally, like, and so it was almost, well, I don't want to lift you up, so I'll make my situation worse. So then I had to convert and become like this consoler and this supporter when I'm like, dude, I'm just getting slapped around in the business and I'm coming back to try and, hey, can you help me out? And it's like, no, you need to help me out. I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. So it was like trying to console them. And so imagine that, like, then who do I go to? Where am I going to go and get my support from? Because this person's there to actually help me sort of level up. And so if that's the case, or even worse, you don't actually talk to them, that's an alarm bell. Like if they are not the person that you can go and confide everything in, then that's an alarm bell as well, right? Because then who are you going to? Like who are you talking to, right? Are you talking to a best friend? Which males especially, like we typically don't talk to our good friends around sort of personal challenges or anything like that, because males have like quite a bravado to us. I know sort of females, from what I understand, sort of will talk to each other and sort of have a good support network. Well, who are you talking to, right? How are you going to let off this steam? How are you going to be vulnerable, because everybody does? And who's going to help sort of pick you up without going, stop complaining, man, toughen up, have a can of concrete, and just sitting there going, no, I need it. I love this one. Yes.
I think that's why a lot of business owners like hide at the office.
Dude, that's it. 100%. Hang on. So in my story of sort of an ex-partner of mine, do you think that every time I got slapped around, I went out of my room and said, hey, can you help me out? No. I sat there, turned the computer screen off, and I'm like, how am I going to improve on top of this? Which is why I gravitated towards meditation and yoga and stuff like that, because that was the way that I internalized it, as opposed to going to a partner. Right. So I went
other tools to use that.
Exactly. Right. Instead of solving the core root problem, I went and solved it through other means, which is not a good way. It's just talk about suppression. Hence why we're not partners and stuff like that. But yes, it just did not work.
Yeah, I can see why. I'm not even going to question that. I've got another one I want to throw in here. I think ethics, trust, and faith, I'm going to throw them all into one, right? Is like, I would say that if your partner is someone who does dodgy things, like let's just say it's shoplifting, right? They steal things or they do things that are unethical. There's a good chance they're a bit of a liability, because I think those types of behaviors creep into other areas of life. It's if they're willing to steal from, let's say, a retail store, it's like eventually they'll be willing to steal from you. Like ethics are a big thing for me. The next one I would say there is that it's like if I ask for, like maybe I've got a big day and I say, hey, Bianca, can you please help me with this? It's the trust in the relationship that she'll take care of that and I don't have to think about it again.
Yep.
And then vice versa. If she needs things from me, I want to be that reliable, trustworthy source in her life. Like that's asset behavior.
Yep.
But then I think it's faith, right? I think the faith thing's a really interesting one as well. Like when I, started my business, right, for the first year I didn't make any money, right? It would be very easy to lose faith in that time.
Yep.
And I think that if your partner isn't willing to see that out and vice versa, you for them, right, that's a dangerous liability place, because if that, been doing this 6 months and it's not working out, it's like, oh, maybe you should go back to a job. That type of mentality, and I'll just grab a sip of coffee, my voice is just gone.
Well, I would piggyback off on that, because it was interesting when I first started dating Hazel, right? So we started dating, and this was at the start of sort of one of the other SaaS companies that I co-founded. So I was genuinely, and no word of a lie, doing about 100-hour weeks. Like it was Monday to Sunday working on this thing. And I was funneling like 6 figures into this thing and not pulling a salary. So imagine big bank account, funneling cash into this tech startup, funneling all my time and effort into this thing to the extent that Hazel and I just started dating. And she's like, I need to support you to get you through what you're going through now in order for this thing to be highly successful, which it worked out in the end. And so she would find everything in her possible being to improve on it. Dude, even to the extent that she's like, I can pay the rent. I can do whatever you want me to do. Right. Like, and we just started dating. Right. And she's like, whatever you need, just tell me and I will help you because this is so important to you. I will be the one that supports everything else in your life up. Dude, she was bringing food to the office. She was doing everything. She was helping with the team. She was collaborating on all these different things and she didn't get paid for it. She didn't have to do it. And I was just like, yeah, this girl's got something going for it.
Isn't it interesting that I think life will present the opportunities for your partner, and this goes both ways, to show that they're an asset or a liability?
Hey, fellow business owner, if this topic and value-packed short video has resonated with you at all, and you want to dive deeper into being a full stack business owner, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now.